Hello. So I'm going to talk about what's going on in America over the last few weeks, and that's important for Ireland, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes, right? So what we've seen in America is Donald Trump ran on with the promise, I suppose, that he was going to work with Elon Musk to weed out government waste, right, and government expenditure that was wasteful. Musk then used his team, DOGE, right, the Department of Government Efficiency, to get in there and start looking through the books of USAID, right? The US Foreign Aid, Foreign Investment Organization, right? And he's found just nonsense money being spent on total nonsense stuff that to a non-naive eye would look like a front, right? In addition to that, Musk has said that he's going to start querying government officials who are on their own set salary, right? And he's going to start looking at how some of these politicians or just members of the state, right, state agents, are making X, but yet the wealth that they're after accumulating far exceeds the accumulation of their salaries, right? So he's going to start looking at that. In addition to that, Trump has come out now, and I think today yesterday he said that today he's going to name some of these people that have benefited the most from corruption, essentially, right? So first, it's just about making sure that your taxpayer money is being spent wisely. Everyone can get on board with that. Then you're looking at the seeming contradiction or the seeming confusion around people like Nancy Pelosi, who is on $250,000 a year, yet has a net worth of nearly $250 million. Right? How did that happen? You know what I mean? How did that happen? People can get on board with that and go, yeah, actually, how come there's scores of millionaires inside in the Dáil, right? Yet some of them, prior to getting involved in the government, did not have occupations that would warrant such accumulated wealth. Where did that come from, right? You can see the parallels here. And then Trump coming out saying, do you know what? We'll start naming some of these people. So what he's doing is gathering the public's attention by focusing on their pocket, right? And then he's drawing that attention and aiming that at people who are directly empty in your pockets to benefit themselves, right? And another fascinating thing is because people will look at that, the naysayers, right? And those who are immersed in total nihilism, right? They don't see the benefit of anything. They have been, they've been swimming too deep in the waters of everything is controlled and you can't do anything, to the point where any potential uptick or any potential positive that they see or that is highlighted to them, they'll quickly bat away, right? Don't want it. That's just a smoke screen for something negative, right? And it may be, right? But you take the positive as it is. Is it positive to weed out corrupt agents in the government and state? Of course it is, right? That's not to, that's the sideline another conversation of, but what comes next, right? Because we can get to that as well. So another fascinating thing is after happening when Trump put a fella called Tom Homan on charge of securing the borders of America, right? And this fella, he's good to listen to. He's just an everyday fella who takes his job seriously, takes himself seriously, and takes his role in protecting and defending the country, his nation, his people, very seriously, right? And he has said that we're going to round up people who are here illegally because they've broken the law to get in here, therefore they're criminals and we want them gone, right? But certain politicians, mayors, attorney generals have said, we're not going to help you with that, right? So he has said, fine, but you will be arrested too for harbouring criminals illegally because you'll be breaking the law if you're not helping us do our job, essentially. And the Attorney General in New York, Letitia James, who spent the last 4 or 5 years just trying to trying to charge Trump with something and lock him up for something, right? She is one of those who has said that she's not going to help. So the Attorney General of America, right, the Department of Justice, I suppose, whatever the department is, right, but the Attorney General of America has charged Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, because of that, because of not abiding by the legal job, the correct and honourable and moral and legal job that Tom Homan is doing. So she's after getting charged. So now what you're seeing is people being drawn out into the light who are corrupt, criminals being pulled into the light, into the spotlight, and now politicians and members of the government and state, right, who have been explicit in saying that we're going to try and stop the upholding of American law. They're now getting charged criminally for that. If you can't see a positive in that, then I don't think you should be even talking. Because you're avoiding reality, right? And it could all be pantomime. It could be, right? But you're seeing more now than you did before. If you were asked 4 years ago, would you like to see people who are abusing their positions and abusing their authority be charged criminally, you would have said absolutely. Up until the day that happens, it's all a big charade and everything's controlled and Freemasons and Jews, right? Fair enough. But now you're seeing something different here. And it's important to recognize that, right? It's important to recognize that. And be under no illusion that those that are in the Dáil and those who are floating around the state and these NGOs who are accumulating significant wealth off the backs of stealing your money for these faux charities and nonsense humanitarian philanthropic endeavours, right? Smoke screens and fronts, right? Mafia's had fronts. You see all these front stores around the town that are in prime real estate town centre who can't be making much of a profit, but yet they're open year after year after year after year after year, right? These are fronts. They pretend to be something. What they offer up front or on the surface is a pretense for the business that's really going on behind the scenes that you're not meant to be privy to, okay? So you don't for a second believe that those that are in the Dáil are not incredibly concerned at what's going on here, right? And why I bring this back to Ireland, because it's really important what's going on here in America. And it's important that people get a little bit conversant with it and be able to say this to people, because Irish people need to be broken out of their spell of believing that tis always the way, therefore twill always be the way, right? So government politicians are always corrupt, sure. They always look after themselves, sure. They always line their own pockets and feather their own nest. That's the way it is, that's the way it was, and that's the way it's going to continue to be, right? But what we're seeing here is a break in the norm. So it's important to be able to say these things and share these news stories from America with Irish people, because you're taking away their argument or their conviction that things will always continue on the way they have, because things always have seemed to continue on the way they were, right? You're breaking people out of that trance, or at least you have the potential to do that. These stories from America, they're leading the way, right? And now all of a sudden you see in Ireland a few little stories here of, well, the government set up this, they were looking to buy this IT infrastructure for €7 million and they never got it and the money just vanished, right? So you're starting to see stories that are mirroring what's going on in America and that are running parallel, right? And I would suggest that if there is to be a meeting between Trump and Irish representatives, Irish politicians in America or wherever, you're going to see stories like this begin to increase, right? And look, all of this is fine and well. The only way you would begin to believe, right? Because you're just observing now, but you begin to believe that things are changing for the benefit, for the positive, for the benefit of people, is when you start seeing people charged and arrested for criminal activity, right? Because if you see the continuation of these people who are clearly involved in corruption, right, and it's been shown that they're clearly involved in corruption, avoid jail and avoid justice, then all that you've seen happen is a transition of power between one side to the other, right? But ultimately, Letitia James in America, the Attorney General in New York, right, getting charged, that's a positive. So there are positives and there are parallels to be drawn between what's going on in Ireland and what is going on in America, right? That's why it's so important to be tuned into what's going on over there, because they're leading the race, they're leading the charge for, as they've done, right? If America's rotten to the core, so is Europe, because that's just the way things happen, right? Because they're all working together with all these orgs and WEFs, WEFs, and the WHO, all that stuff. They're all intermingled together, right? But it seems like there's a bit of a break there, right? So you're starting to see something different. Hopefully it continues, and hopefully it does lead to people being charged and convicted. And Jesus, yeah, throw them court cases on the television, people will watch all day long.